Ambassador Hannah Kim pressed her face against the cold glass of the observation deck. The stars looked different here on Kepler 7 station. Back on Earth, they seemed friendly and welcoming. Here, surrounded by alien ships and strange beings, they felt cold and distant. 3 months had passed since humans first met other intelligent life in the galaxy. 3 months of careful talks, translation problems, and growing tension. What should have been humanity's greatest moment was turning into a nightmare. Ambassador Kim. The voice was soft like wind chimes. Hannah turned around and saw something that made her breath catch. The being standing behind her looked like it was made of light and shadow mixed together. Its body shimmered and moved like heat rising from hot pavement. She knew what it was, an ethereal, one of the oldest races in the galaxy. Seer Veltar, she said, bowing the way the diplomatic handbook taught her. I did not think I would see you here. Your people usually stay away from council meetings. The alien moved closer without making any sound. Its feet, if they were feet, did not touch the ground. We have watched your kind for a very long time, it said. Long before your ships could fly between stars, we looked at your world. We have seen what humans can do. Hannah felt uncomfortable. Everyone knew about Earth's violent past. The wars, the weapons, the millions who died fighting each other. If you came here to tell us we are too violent, no. The alien's dark eyes seemed to look right through her soul. I came to give you a warning. Your people have something we have never seen before in all our years of watching. It is a terrible gift. If you attack first, when you are angry, your people will never stop fighting until every enemy is gone. Do not let them taste blood for the first time. Before Hannah could ask what that meant, a bell rang through the station. The council meeting was starting again. When she looked back, Veltar was gone like smoke in the wind. Inside the big council room, the trouble started right away. High Commander Vec of the Hegemony Collective was a huge reptile-like creature, with sharp teeth and scales like armor. He hit the speaking table with his massive fist, so hard it cracked. The humans must leave the outer rim worlds right now, he shouted, or we will make them leave. Hannah stood up and touched the small device in her ear that helped her understand alien languages. The colonies on Kepler 9 and Haven 3 were built legally. We followed all the rules in the contact agreement. We will not abandon millions of our people, just because you want those worlds. Those worlds belong to the hegemony. Vec roared so loud that other aliens covered their ears. Your species has only been in space for a few years, but you act like you own everything. The room exploded into arguments. Aliens from dozens of different worlds started shouting at each other in languages that sounded like music, grinding, metal, and breaking glass all mixed together. Hannah sat down heavily, feeling tired and scared. Veltar's words kept playing in her mind, like a bad song she could not forget. Asterisk, if you strike first in anger, they will never stop until every enemy is dust. Asterisk 3 hours later, alarms started screaming through the station. Emergency lights flashed red and white. A voice spoke in the common galactic language. All diplomatic personnel, to emergency stations. Hostile fleet movements detected. Hannah ran to the human section of the station and activated the secure communication. Link to Earth. Admiral Dong-Soo Park's face appeared on the screen, looking older than his 50 years. Behind him, she could see the busy command center of Earth's defense force. Ambassador, the Admiral said, we have a big problem. Hegemony battle fleets are gathering at the border of our space. Our scouts count over 300 ships. The Defense Council has voted. We need to hit them before they hit us. Admiral, you are talking about attacking another species without them attacking us first. I am talking about keeping our people alive. Park interrupted. Look, I know this is not what we wanted, but if we wait for them to attack first, our colonies will be destroyed before we can help them. Operation Crimson Dawn is ready. We can take out their staging areas with surgical strikes, clean and fast. Hannah closed her eyes and heard Veltar's warning again. The alien had seemed so sure, so frightened. But millions of human lives were at risk, Admiral. We cannot start a war based on fear. Authorization denied. Keep our defenses ready, but do not attack first. The Admiral's face went hard. Understood, Ambassador. The screen went black. Hannah sat in her small office for 6 hours, trying to work on other diplomatic problems, but her hands shook every time she touched the keyboard. Outside her window, she could see hegemony ships in the distance, dark shapes, against the stars. Then her communication device beeped with an emergency message. The words on the screen made her heart stop. Operation Crimson Dawn completed successfully. Hegemony staging areas destroyed. Admiral Park sends his regrets for proceeding without authorization, but imminent threat protocols required immediate action. She ran to the observation deck and looked out at space. In the distance, she could see the bright flashes of explosions where the hegemony fleet had been. The attack was over. The hegemony ships were burning wrecks, floating in space. Humanity had struck first. The taste of blood was in their mouths now, and according to an ancient alien prophet, they would never be able to stop. The video played over and over on every screen across human space. Hannah Kim watched it for the 100th time in her office on Kepler 7 station, feeling sick to her stomach each time she saw the same terrible images. The Earth Defense Force ships looked beautiful and deadly as they appeared out of nowhere in the darkness of space. Their weapons lit up like bright stars as they fired at the hegemony military bases. Admiral Park had planned the attack perfectly. In just 30 minutes, 17 enemy military stations were destroyed. The invasion fleet that was going to attack human colonies was now burning metal, floating in space. But the cameras showed something else too. Something that made Hannah want to cry. Near the military bases were smaller stations where hegemony civilians worked in the mines. The weapons fire that missed the military targets hit these mining platforms instead. The metal walls of the civilian stations were torn apart like paper. Through the holes, Hannah could see bodies floating in the cold emptiness of space. Men, women, and children who had just been trying to make a living were now dead. The images spread across the galaxy's communication networks faster than light. Every alien species saw the same thing. Humans killing thousands of innocent people in their first military action. Captain Jinho Lee stood at attention in front of Admiral Park's desk, reading from his report. His voice was flat and emotionless, like he was reading a grocery list instead of talking about thousands of deaths. 17,000 confirmed civilian casualties, sir, he said. Our intelligence was wrong about where the mining platforms were located. They were much closer to the military bases than we thought. Hannah felt her hands shake as she watched the captain give his report. This is terrible, she said to Admiral Park. The entire galaxy is going to think we are monsters. They will see us as the aggressors now, not the defenders. Admiral Park's old, weathered face showed no emotion at all. He had been a soldier for 40 years, and he had seen death before. The entire galaxy will see us as survivors, he said calmly. The hegemony had 300,000 soldiers ready to attack our colonies. Those 17,000 deaths saved 3 million human lives. Hannah wanted to argue, but she knew the math was probably right. Still, looking at the pictures of dead alien children floating in space made her feel like humanity had lost something important. But over the next few weeks, something strange happened. Instead of the galaxy turning against humanity, the opposite occurred. The hegemony fleet that had been threatening human colonies ran away immediately. They did not even try to fight back or seek revenge. Other alien species that had been ignoring human diplomats suddenly became very interested in talking. The Vegan Trade Collective, which had been refusing to sell advanced technology to humans for months, suddenly offered everything at discount prices. The Centauran Federation invited human ambassadors to visit their homeworld for cultural exchanges. Ambassador Yuki Tanaka, from the Rigel Commonwealth, actually apologized to Hannah for being rude during previous negotiations. We did not realize humans were so decisive, she said, her 4 eyes blinking nervously. Perhaps we should discuss that mining rights agreement again. Within a month, trade deals that had been stuck for half a year were suddenly signed. Alien diplomats, who used to keep humans waiting for hours, now met with them immediately. Species that had never even acknowledged human existence were sending friendship messages to Earth. You see? Admiral Park said to Hannah during their weekly meeting. Respect. That is what we have earned. Not fear, respect. But Hannah was not so sure. She watched the way alien diplomats acted around humans now. They were polite, maybe too polite. They agreed to things quickly, without much argument. When they thought humans were not watching, she saw them whispering nervously to each other. The strangest change was in the human military itself. Officers, who had been unsure about the attack on the hegemony, now spoke about it with pride. They called it the lesson that saved the galaxy from war. Military academies on Earth started teaching courses about preemptive defense and decisive action. Captain Lee, who had seemed uncomfortable reading the casualty report, now gave speeches to new recruits about the importance of acting fast when threats appeared. Hesitation kills, he would tell them. The enemy will not give you time to think. You must strike first, strike hard, and strike to win. Young officers who had never seen combat began requesting transfer to threat assessment units. These groups spent their time looking for potential enemies and planning attacks before those enemies could become dangerous. The work was important, they said. Humans had to stay ahead of the threat. On Earth, the news programs played heroic music when they showed footage of the attack. They called it the battle that saved the colonies and made Admiral Park into a hero. Children played games where they pretended to be Defense Force pilots, making explosion sounds as they defeated the aliens. But late at night, when Hannah was alone in her quarters, she remembered Veltar's warning. The ancient alien had said humans would never stop once they tasted first blood. Looking at how quickly her people had gone from defenders to aggressors, she was starting to understand what he meant. The attack on the hegemony had worked perfectly. It had saved human lives and earned respect from the galaxy. But it had also taught humanity a dangerous lesson. Violence was quick, efficient, and effective. And violence, once learned, was very hard to forget. 3 years had passed since humans first met aliens, and Hannah Kim barely recognized the place where it all began. She stood in what used to be the beautiful Galactic Council chambers on Kepler 7 station. The room where diplomats from dozens of species once talked about peace and trade was now covered with military screens and weapon displays. The elegant, curved walls that alien artists had decorated with symbols of friendship were now hidden behind cold metal panels showing human fleet positions. Red dots marked human ships scattered across a huge section of the galaxy. Blue areas showed planets under human control. Green zones were marked as protective mandates, a nice way of saying humans had taken them over, but let the aliens stay, as long as they followed human rules. General Taemin Choi stood in front of a group of young human officers, pointing at the holographic star map floating in the center of the room. He was Admiral Park's replacement after Park died in what the militarily called a training accident. Hannah suspected the old admiral had killed himself from guilt, but nobody talked about that. 7 star systems are now under direct human control, General Choi said proudly to the new colonial administrators. 14 more systems are under our protective mandate. According to our computer models, we will have complete security for this entire sector of the galaxy within 5 years. Hannah watched the young officers scribble notes in their tablets. These men and women had been teenagers when the war started. They had grown up watching humans conquer alien worlds. For them, taking over other species' planets was not aggression. It was just what humans did. It was normal. The briefing continued with talk about threat assessment and preemptive security measures. Every few months, human intelligence would identify another alien species that might possibly become dangerous in the future. Then human fleets would arrive to protect that species from making bad decisions. After the meeting ended, Hannah walked through the station's corridors. Most of the alien civilians who used to live here had been moved to safer locations on distant worlds. The few who remained were carefully watched by human security guards. Hannah made her way to the old ethereal quarter, where the strange light beings used to live and meditate. She had heard rumors that one of them might still be there. The corridors were dark and empty now, with only emergency lighting to show the way. She found him in a small meditation chamber that looked out at the colorful nebula beyond the station. Veltar sat in the darkness, his body made of light and shadow flickering like a candle in the wind. He looked much weaker than when she had first met him 3 years ago. "You came," he whispered without turning around, "though I think it may be too late for warnings now." "What is happening to us?" Hannah asked, sitting down beside the dying alien. "This is not who we were supposed to become." "Your species was beautiful once," Veltar said sadly. "We watched you for so many years before you reached the stars. We saw your art, your music, your endless curiosity about the universe. Even when you fought wars on your homeworld, you still mourned for your enemies and hoped for peace." Through the chamber's window, they could see human patrol ships flying in perfect formation, practicing attack patterns against imaginary enemies, their weapons painted red, targeting beams across the empty space. "That first victory changed everything," Veltar continued. "Your people discovered they were very good at killing efficiently. More importantly, they discovered they liked being efficient killers. Each success made the next attack easier to justify. But surely someone must see what we are becoming," Hannah said desperately. "Look at your colonies," Veltar replied. "Look at your children." Hannah activated her personal computer and called up reports from human settlements across the conquered territories. The information made her feel sick. Military recruitment was up 300% compared to before first contact. Schools now taught tactical thinking and threat identification to elementary students. Children's toys were models of human warships and alien fighting robots. On the colony world, New Sol, 5-year-old children played games called First Strike during recess. On Haven 3, the colonial government had changed their official motto, "To better them than us." The phrase was printed on food packages, government buildings, and school uniforms. "They are not learning to be soldiers," Hannah realized with horror. "They are learning that being soldiers is what humans do naturally." "Yes," Veltar agreed, his voice growing weaker. "And each new generation will be more efficient than the last, more comfortable with the idea that violence is necessary, less troubled by the mathematics of survival." A communication alert interrupted their conversation. General Choi's voice filled the chamber through the station's speakers. "All department heads report to the command center immediately. Priority briefing on the Centauran situation." Hannah sighed. She knew what this meant. The Centauran Federation had been sending diplomatic protests about human expansion for months. Now they would become the next imminent threat that required decisive military action. As she prepared to leave, Veltar's hand touched her arm. It felt like cool starlight against her skin. "The hunger I warned you about," he said quietly. "It was never hunger for territory or resources. It was hunger for the next victory. The need to prove, again and again, that humans are the most dangerous species in the galaxy. Each success feeds that hunger and makes it stronger." In the command center, General Choi was already explaining why the Centauran Federation's new alliance with 3 smaller species was a threat to human security. The holographic display showed exactly how human forces could destroy their combined fleets in less than 3 days. "Questions?" General Choi asked the assembled officers. Nobody raised their hand. Why would they? This was simply what humans did when other species made them nervous. The vote for the next attack was unanimous, just like all the others had been. 10 years had passed since humans first met aliens, and Hannah Kim could not believe what Earth had become. She stood on the observation deck of a massive space station floating above Seoul, looking down at her homeworld through thick glass windows. What she saw made her heart break. The Korean peninsula, where she had grown up playing in parks and walking along peaceful rivers, was now one giant factory. From space, it looked like a metal beast that had eaten the green hills and blue waters she remembered from childhood. Smoke rose from thousands of chimneys. Bright lights blazed day and night as the factories never stopped working, building weapons and spaceships for humanity's ever-growing war machine. Beautiful, is it not? A voice said behind her. Hannah turned to see Supreme Commander Dong Woo-han walking toward her. His military uniform was covered with so many medals and ribbons that she wondered how he could move without the weight pulling him down. 10 years ago, officers wore simple uniforms with maybe 1 or 2 decorations. Now they looked like walking displays of human military victories. Admiral Park, the man who had started it all, with the first attack on the hegemony, was dead. The official story said he died in a training accident 3 years ago. But Hannah knew the truth. She had received his final personal message, just for words that haunted her dreams. What have we become? 50 billion citizens across 47 star systems, Commander Han said proudly, pointing at the industrial landscape below them. Every single one of them working to keep humanity safe. We have built the most efficient defense system in the history of the galaxy. Hannah watched huge transport ships rise from Earth's surface, like metal birds. Inside those ships were thousands of young people being carried away to military training camps, scattered across human-controlled space. Some of them were barely teenagers, recruited from special schools that prepared children for military service. "Commander," Hannah said quietly, "do you ever wonder what Earth looked like before all this?" Han's expression became hard and cold. "Before we learned that the galaxy wanted to kill us. No, Ambassador. I do not waste time thinking about the past. The naive species that sent out peaceful messages, hoping to make alien friends, would have been extinct within 5 years. Through her personal computer, Hannah had been secretly collecting records of what Earth used to be like. Hidden in her private files were videos from the early days of space exploration. Humans and aliens working together on scientific projects, mixed crews on trading ships, even some friendships between different species. But each year, fewer people remembered those times. Each year, more humans were born into a world where war was the only reality they knew. The alert sound echoed through the station, calling everyone to the daily threat briefing. In the enormous command center, holographic displays showed the current state of human-controlled space. It was a growing sphere of influence that now covered almost 1/3 of this part of the galaxy. "Current enemy strength report," said Colonel Yansu Park, reading from her computer tablet. "The Vegan Collective has approximately 40,000 combat ships. The Rigel Commonwealth just finished building 12 new battleships that are stronger than anything we have seen before. The Ethereal Observer Network continues to watch our activities from 17 known locations." Supreme Commander Han nodded with satisfaction. "What do you recommend?" "Operation Endless Dawn is ready to begin," Colonel Park continued in the same calm voice she might use to discuss the weather. "Our computer analysis shows that every remaining non-human civilization will eventually develop weapons that could threaten human worlds. The mathematical probability approaches 100% over the next 50 years. Hannah felt her blood turn to ice water. "Commander, are you talking about complete elimination of all potential future threats?" Han confirmed without emotion. "We have had great success with attacking specific targets before they could attack us. But our computer models show that as long as alien civilizations exist, they will eventually unite against humanity. The only way to guarantee permanent human security is to remove that possibility entirely." The briefing continued with the same business-like efficiency that humans had once used for city planning and environmental protection projects. target lists, fleet assignments, resource calculations, the complete extermination of every intelligent species in known space, planned with the same careful attention to detail that humans had once applied to building hospitals and schools. The beauty of this plan, Han explained to Hannah privately after the meeting, is that we are not acting from hatred or a desire for conquest. This is pure mathematics. Every computer simulation shows the same result: eventual alien alliance against humanity. We are simply solving the problem before it becomes unsolvable. That night, Hannah wrote her final official report, knowing that no one would ever read it. Personal log of Ambassador Hannah Kim, final entry. Today I learned that humanity has scheduled the extinction of every other intelligent species in the galaxy. The vote to approve this plan was unanimous. No one even asked if there might be other solutions. This is who we are now, a species that mistakes efficiency for morality, that confuses fear with wisdom. The ancient alien Veltar was right. We struck first, and now we truly cannot stop. As she finished writing, her door chimed. Security officers stood in the hallway, their faces showing the polite respect due to someone who was about to become a former diplomat. Ambassador Kim, Supreme Commander Han wants to see you. There are some questions about your recent communications. She looked past them toward Earth's surface, where lights sparkled across the military factories like stars, fallen to the ground. Somewhere down there, children were learning that the galaxy was full of enemies who needed to be destroyed. Somewhere up there, fleets were preparing to visit other worlds with devastating efficiency. The hunger that Veltar had warned about was finally ready to consume everything that lived among the stars. The small room on Luna base was not too bad as prisons went. Hannah Kim had a comfortable bed, a desk by the window where she could see Earth spinning slowly in the black space, and access to most of the computer databases. The only thing she could not do was send messages to anyone. All her communications were watched by security guards. She had been locked up for 6 months when Supreme Commander Han came to visit her personally. He walked into her room like he owned it, which he probably did, and sat down in the chair across from her small desk. "Your resistance broadcasts have been very clever," he said with a cold smile, using the old diplomatic communication codes to spread historical records from before first contact. Very sentimental. Hannah did not look up from the tablet she was reading. She was studying reports about how the final military operation was going. "I am surprised you are letting me see how Operation Endless Dawn is proceeding." "The operation launches in 72 hours, Han said like he was talking about the weather. "After that, your little propaganda campaign will not matter anymore. Though, I must admit, some of the younger soldiers have been asking uncomfortable questions. For the first time in months, Hannah felt a tiny spark of hope in her chest. They are starting to remember who we used to be. They are experiencing temporary confusion about who we need to be." Han corrected her. He waved his hand, and a holographic display appeared in the air above her desk. It showed video footage from across human space, crowds of people holding signs and shouting at military buildings. The images were both wonderful and heartbreaking. Young humans held signs that said, "Remember friendship, and we used to explore, not exterminate." But there were also counter-protesters waving banners that read "Human security first, and better safe than sorry." Military police moved through both groups, arresting people with calm efficiency. "The interesting thing," Han continued, "is that your resistance has done something I did not expect. It has created the first real opposition to military policy since the Hegemony War. Congratulations, you have given me a legitimate domestic threat to eliminate." Hannah finally looked at him, fear growing in her stomach. "You are going to kill them." "I am going to reclassify them as enemy collaborators. The trials will be very educational for the remaining population." Han stood up and smoothed his uniform. "I wanted to thank you personally, Ambassador. Your little rebellion has provided the perfect demonstration of why we must strike first. Even among humans, dangerous ideas must be destroyed before they spread. After he left, Hannah returned to reading reports about the final preparations. Fleets were gathering at jump points throughout human space. Civilian populations were being moved to secure zones. The military had shut down all interstellar communications to prevent aliens from coordinating their defenses. In 72 hours, humanity would begin the final solution to what they called the galactic threat problem. Her door chimed again, but this time it was her former assistant, Captain Sujin Lee. The young woman looked nervous and much older than her 30 years. Dark circles under her eyes showed she had not been sleeping well. Captain, Hannah stood up, confused. I thought you were assigned to the Vega operation. I am. Sujin looked at the security cameras in the corners of the room, then activated a small electronic device that would jam their recording. Ambassador, there is something you need to know. Some of us have been reading your documentation about what Earth was like before the war. She handed Hannah a small data crystal. These are Captain Jung-Soo Kim's personal logs from the first contact mission before the fighting started. His descriptions of working with alien scientists, sharing cultural exchanges with other species. We were different then, were we not? Hannah nodded, hardly daring to hope that some humans still remembered their better nature. There are others, Sujin continued quietly. Mostly younger officers who grew up hearing their grandparents tell stories about the old days. We cannot stop Endless Dawn. The launch procedures are automated now, beyond recall once they start. But we can make sure someone remembers what we used to be. What are you suggesting? A siege ship? One of the deep space exploration vessels, loaded with the complete cultural archives you have been preserving. If we launch it toward the edge of the galaxy now, it might survive what is coming. Hannah closed her eyes, imagining the small ship carrying the memory of humanity's better angels into the empty darkness, while their descendants completed their transformation into the galaxy's most efficient killers. Even if it works, she said, it would take hundreds of years to reach another galaxy. By then, what we become here will not matter, Sujin finished. But somewhere else, humans might have another chance to choose differently. They worked through the night, planning the technical details. Alerts began sounding throughout the facility as Operation Endless Dawn began ahead of schedule. Hans, response to the growing unrest in the outer colonies. The siege ship New Hope launched 6 hours later from a mining facility hidden in the asteroid belt. Its departure was camouflaged among routine cargo traffic. By the time the automated systems detected the unusual flight path, the ship was already beyond recall range, accelerating toward the edge of the galaxy with its precious cargo of human art, music, philosophy, and memories of a time when humanity reached for the stars with open hands, instead of closed fists. Hannah watched the ship's drive signature fade from the tracking display, then deleted all evidence of the launch. Behind them, human fleets were jumping toward populated alien worlds, carrying the terrible efficiency that had become their species-defining characteristic. But ahead of the New Hope, empty space stretched toward distant galaxies where other young species might someday learn to explore the universe. If they were very lucky, they would never meet the humans who had remained behind.